Dr. William Heyborne, and I'm an associate professor of biology here at Southern Utah University. When I'm not in the classroom or working with students on research projects, one of my loves is participating in endurance sports. However, this love hasn't always been a part of me. I didn't run my first marathon until I was in my mid-30s, and I didn't do an ultramarathon until my mid-40s. Sometimes people, when learning about this newfound passion of mine, will ask, isn't it hard or doesn't it hurt? Well, the answer to both of these questions is a resounding yes. Sometimes it is really hard, and sometimes it hurts really badly. When I give people those answers, they typically give me a look like I'm not well mentally. And the follow-up question is then typically, then why do you do it? When I first started doing these sorts of events, I didn't really know the answer to that question myself. While I enjoyed the physical aspect of the event and the challenge associated with that, and seeing what my body was capable of, I've come to learn that that's not the complete reason why I engage in this physical torment and pain. And I've discovered from talking to friends and associates who similarly engage in ultramarathons, multi-day bicycle rides, and the like, that the physicality of the event is only the tip of the iceberg for them too. So what is it that drives someone to run 100 miles in a single go or ride a bicycle several hundred miles across an entire state? I think that the answer to that question is that these people have developed or are hoping to improve something called grit. Well, what is grit? Dr. Angela Duckworth, a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, has made an academic career studying grit. And she defines it this way, quote, grit is the passion and perseverance for long-term and meaningful goals. Well, what does that mean? It means that people with grit are able to persist in something, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable difficulties or obstacles. People with grit are able to find a passion for something, even when that something is hard, difficult, boring, or long. Grit is the ability to persevere in something, even when confronted with the very real possibility of failure. In the fall of 2018, I was invited to be part of a 3-person team running the Grand to Grand Ultramarathon. This is a self-supported foot race, which means that you carry all of your own food, clothing, and sleeping gear on your back for a week. The race covers just over 170 miles from the north rim of the Grand Canyon to the top of the Grand Staircase near Bryce Canyon National Park. The race occurs in 6 stages, spread over 7 days, and requires you to run an average of nearly 29 miles a day. My SUU colleagues, President Scott Wyatt and Director of Global Collaboration, Johnny O, were my partners in this grand adventure. It was while on the trail of this race that I first came to ponder the importance of grit in my life and the lives of others, and how developing grit might serve us well as we are confronted with life's challenges, of which we will undoubtedly have many. Day 1 of the race brought our team face to face with the need for grit. President Wyatt had never run any kind of race prior to the Grand to Grand. While he was a very experienced long-distance backpacker and had spent the season training, he was unprepared regarding how to manage hydration and nutrition during an event like an ultramarathon. Near the end of that first day, approximately 20 miles in, with several miles to go for the day, Scott bonked. This is the term endurance athletes use to describe the point at which you are just done, out of energy, incapable of taking even one more step. As our team stopped to assess the situation and allow Scott to rest, I privately wondered if this might be the end of our Grand to Grand journey. As a team, we discussed our options. We got some electrolytes and calories into Scott, and after nearly an hour, remarkably, he said, "Let's go." So we pulled our little team together and pressed on, crossing the daily finish line a couple of hours later, tired but intact. And perhaps most importantly, ready to face the reality of 5 more days of this challenge. Physically, emotionally, mentally, it would have been really easy for Scott to just call the race, to say, this is too hard. I'm not prepared enough to finish this. But that's not what happened. Scott has amazing grit. When he puts his mind to something, he's going to see it to its conclusion, even if it's hard, or perhaps more appropriately, especially when it's hard. While there were many other moments along the trail when our grit was tested, in the end, the distance, the blisters, the lost toenails, the sunburns, none of it could overcome our resolve, our grit, necessary to complete the race. So how does this idea of grit apply to our everyday lives and the challenges we all face? Dr. Duckworth, in her book, Grit, The Power and Passion for Perseverance, describes a long-term study she has been engaged in, examining what makes people successful and why. Society would have us believe that talent is the primary driver of success, when in fact, Dr. Duckworth has discovered that talent only gets you so far. In fact, what she has found is that effort, or grit, is 2 times more important than talent alone in predicting the future success of individuals. Dr. Duckworth writes that talent combined with effort yields skill, and skill combined with even more effort then yields achievement. So truly, effort counts twice in the, if you will, achievement equation. From the work of Dr. Duckworth and our colleagues, we know that grit is critically important as a predictor of achievement. But how do we develop grit? Some individuals seem to be endowed with a greater amount of grit than others. But like any skill, I think grit can be improved with practice. And how do we practice? Well, by doing hard things. I don't think any of us are eager to seek out hard things in our personal and professional lives. People and their emotions may be at stake, which for me is where endurance sports come in. Herein lies a place where I can practice my grit in a way that doesn't make me risk others' emotions, my employment, or my relationships. Here's a place where I can subject myself to hard things, find the strength necessary to continue on, and then use that experience to draw from when I find myself in difficult situations in the future. Now, not everyone is going to be drawn to running ultramarathons. So how can the average person practice their grit? Well, I can think of several ways we might do this. Anything that necessitates that the individual engage in sustained effort, even when things get hard, can help us practice grit and provide a reservoir of experiences to draw from when we are faced with life experiences requiring grit. Like any learning, it's better to practice the skill in a low-stakes environment rather than hoping you have the skill when it's needed. So some possibilities. Reading a long, involved book. For me, Moby Dick comes to mind. Perhaps learning to play a musical instrument or learning to speak another language. Setting and achieving fitness goals. Making a commitment to healthier eating. All of these tasks necessitate the use and practice of grit. I would encourage you to find a place in your own life where you can begin to find growth in your grit. I can attest to the value of doing so and the difference it will make in your life when the going gets tough. Thanks.